So the first thing's Death in Paradise. It's BBC One, 9 o'clock on a Tuesday. Ben Miller, fish out of water story, sent to the Caribbean. I liked it. If you read the review of that, you'll know. What were your views?
Well, I started watching it. I hadn't read what you'd written because I didn't want to.
No, you weren't influenced.
I didn't want to be influenced. I like to be surprised by things, and I like to watch things without knowing exactly what they're about. I had no idea who was in it, what it was about. I had no idea at all. My first thoughts were it had a great cast when the credits came up.
Was it the second episode you watched or the first?
Well, I watched part of the first episode.
Right.
Just so I knew what was going on and the basic premise.
Yeah.
So I watched about 10 to 15 minutes of that. And then you said to watch just the second episode, so I had a good look at that. Also, I'd seen on Twitter that you got some comments from people who weren't sure about Death in Paradise. So that's the only thing that I.
It's really interesting actually because I'm sort of biased. I got a preview of it weeks and weeks before it was aired, and I sort of thought this is unique. This is a bit of a different spin on the detective thing, which we're so familiar with. And I was convinced, people will like this, and it's really divided. Sometimes I'll speak to people and they say, God, it's awful, I can't get my head around it. Other people say, it's nice, it reminds me of detective dramas gone by. I like it as just cosy winter night television. So, which side of that fence are you sat on?
I would say firmly in the middle. There are aspects of it that I really liked, and there are aspects of it that I wasn't keen on.
Is it always this hot?
No. Sometimes it's a lot hotter.
Look, I'll be honest with you, this whole Caribbean thing, I mean, I'm sure it's very nice, but, well, it's not really my idea of, yeah. So, as soon as I've solved this case and I've got my luggage, I'm on the next plane home. I can't think why they sent me here.
The reason I think I liked it was because it did hark back, in my view, to a series I used to love when I was a lot young, well, not a lot younger, but a while ago, Jonathan Creek. It had aspects of Jonathan Creek in there. There's somebody in a locked room. How were they killed? How did the murderer get out? I sort of like that, because we've seen all these Waking the Deads and CSI using all this technology, and I like the fact that this is very back to basics, but a lot of people, that was what they disliked about it.
Yeah, I think it reminded me slightly of, say, an old Inspector Clouseau kind of thing, with the whole reveal on the veranda and then moving to the room in the second episode. I won't spoil this episode for people if they haven't seen it, but I think the reveal was very good. There were parts that I found slightly predictable, like the alarm going off on the fire door when he walked through the door.
Yeah.
Use these stairs?
No, sir. Those doors are alarmed.
But are they?
Yes.
Yet! Yes! So the killer couldn't have got in that way, or out that way. But the question still remains. How did the victim get into a room she didn't have a key to?
What I always find is I enjoy things, but then if I've said this before, but if the people who I'm watching it with don't, I don't enjoy it as much. And when I put this on for the rest of the family, they weren't blown away. That they were confused by it. You know, it just feels so different to everything else. Not that I think that's a bad thing. I'm going to stick with it. But will you?
I might catch it if there's nothing else on that I want to watch.
The key to enjoying something like Death in Paradise is actually not to think of it. You know, if you're thinking if it's a crime drama like Waking the Dead, Luther, it's not a crime drama.
Yeah, it doesn't work in that way.
So if you're going in thinking this is going to be the next big crime drama, then don't watch it. Just watch it. Just enjoy the sort of fish out of water type story if you want to. There's a nice lizard interaction throughout, which is
yes, I did notice that. Sort
of a hark back to Doc Martin. Sort of reminded me of him and the dog. Did you not like the sort of Cluedo element of it, where there's only, a certain amount of people who could have done it, and then whittling them off one by one?
I think that was quite satisfying. I thought that it was somebody it wasn't, and I
Because
thought that they
as
were...
much as I like these crime dramas, and I do, I watch the majority of them, with few exceptions, a lot of them do get very convoluted, very complicated, very tenuous links between each person, and I quite liked the way that Death in Paradise only has a few suspects maybe, and you're watching them, you know definitely who they are, and then you sort of work out, where they were at the time of the murder. It was very going back to basics on that side. But for me, it's for somebody who saw it a long time before its transmission, it's interesting how people are, it's one of those programs people either say, yeah, it's great, or can't even get past the first 10 minutes.